Jake Stuart back with the National Sports Media Association. Today, I'm joined by one of my favorites, Jenny Cavnar, Colorado Sportscaster of the Year. Jenny, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Jenny is the Colorado Rockies play-by-play. She's also done all kinds of work for Fox Sports, ESPN, pretty much anywhere you could think of. Jenny, what brought you into the industry?
I think I just always had a love for sports. I grew up, at a baseball field, basically. My dad was a longtime high school baseball coach in Colorado, and that was our babysitter in the summer, was head out to dad's work and watch games and keep score and do all the things. So I definitely found an early passion for sports. Obviously, ended up playing myself, fell into that. I played lacrosse in college at Colorado State, and just knew like if I could work in sports, that would be a dream job. And one day I saw Melissa Stark doing sidelines for a Monday night football game, and it all clicked in my head that that is definitely something I want to pursue and would love to do.
Well, you could tell right away just watching. I'm a big fan, and watching you and some of the calls you've had and some of the stories you had, you could just tell you've been around baseball for a very long time. I wanted to ask you, this is your first award from the National Sports Media Association. What does it mean to you?
I was really surprised by it, to be honest. I was blown away and very humbled. I think when you look at the award, it's from your peers. And so I think that means so much because, we're all in this business together, and your peers can be your easiest critics, and they can give you your best critique. So I just felt really humbled by the fact that they would honor me in that way. It was very exciting.
And did you have any, favorite sportscasters growing up or people that you looked up to that kind of got you into the industry or what you wanted to do?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned Melissa Stark. I think definitely it was seeing her was more of a representation thing. And I think that's become so important in my career. I never had the goal to be play by play for baseball and college basketball and things like that, the opportunities that I get now. I never even had a goal to host a pre and post game show. I really hadn't seen someone that looked like me, being a woman in sports, doing that. And so even when I got in the business, it was like, I want to be a football sideline reporter. It was very specific to what I had seen. I didn't really understand all the other job possibilities in the industry. So now, almost 2 decades later, as I've kind of tried to forge my own path and take opportunities when I've gotten them, I have new goals and new dreams. And it's cool that I'm almost 40 years old and I'm like, oh, there's more I want to do in this business. And I hope by doing that and pursuing that and taking those challenges on, that the next generation can have bigger goals and dreams, and they can be as wide as they want to, as specific as they want to, but they don't just have to be one thing. I hope they're seeing they meaning young girls that want to be in our business are seeing more representation, and that's an important role that I feel like I have, and I feel like I want to continue to challenge. In terms of other sportscasters that I admire, there's plenty of them. I think the ones that have had longevity in our business and found a way to reinvent themselves over and over again, I really admire. I think Andrea Kramer has done a fantastic job. And same thing, I don't know that Andrea Kramer would sit there and say, I want to be on an all-women's play-by-play team on an alternate broadcast for Thursday Night Football. But here she sits decades after she's been in the business, and she's doing that and taking that challenge on. So I think that's really, really cool. Hannah Storm, obviously, Michelle Tafoya, who just retired from Sunday
Right.
night sidelines. There's just a lot of strong women in this business who got in at a time when it was probably a lot harder to be a woman, and have helped pave the way for those behind them. And I truly am grateful for them and admire them. I also would be remiss if I didn't mention Susan Waldman. She has been, such a kind person in this business. The first time I ever had the chance to call a Major League Baseball game as an analyst on the radio back in 2015, she was one of the first people that reached out to me. And I just thought that was so cool that somebody who's been doing this for so many years in this business took the time to reach out to me and encourage me. And she continues to do that just by, being herself and showing up in the industry every day.
Wow, that's awesome. And it seems like, Jenny, you keep speaking about how, you realize that you could potentially be on it and then quickly realize, all right, well, I can do more and I can pursue my dreams. And when was the first moment that it hit you that, hey, I can be on the air and I can call baseball games and really just make this happen?
Gosh, it really took a long time. I think there were people that planted a lot of seeds. Um, and some I didn't bite on. I remember sitting in a talent director's office at ESPN, and she asked me if I had ever had any interest in doing play by play. And I kind of laughed at it in my head because I was like, really? No way. Like, I'm not trained to do that, you know? And I think the men in the business that I had admired all along, you definitely heard those stories of like, they grew up wanting to do this their whole lives and taking a tape recorder to a game when they were young or watching it on TV and taping themselves doing it. And I
Right.
thought in the back of my mind, like, I don't have that experience. And it took people along the way to continue to be like, you might not have the traditional experience, but you've been around, especially baseball, you've been around the game your whole life. You see the game in a certain way. You've talked about the game. You've done thousands of major league broadcasts. They just might not be in that role. And so I really am grateful for those people in my life. One of them is a producer that we have that produces Rockies games. Her name's Allison B. Hill, and she just kind of kept planting that seed year after year. And it was probably around that time that I got the opportunity to do the analyst work on radio in 2015, that seed kind of started to grow. Like, this was really fun. Maybe it is something I should work on and work on that craft and try it a little bit more. And then it took really like a lot of the guys I was on air with, our analysts, Ryan Spilborgs, Corey Sullivan,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Houston, to just say like, yeah, we could do this. You can do this. I mean, even filling in for Drew Goodman, who I grew up listening to, and now he's my colleague and good friend, him just being like, good luck, you got this, that encouragement and that support from my male colleagues, I think really was kind of the cherry on top of me being like, yes, we can do this. It might not sound traditional. It might not sound how the audience is used to hearing things, but it's our way of doing it. And I think that's what's gotten me this far in this business, is always being true to myself and trying to learn to bring that into the booth as I'm learning a whole new role doing play-by-play.
Well, Jenny, quickly you got thrown onto the scene and you got to cover some pretty awesome players. Nolan Arenado, Charlie Blackmon, to name a few. Was there a specific maybe moment that you were able to be a part of and commentate that might stand out to you?
I think there's so many. It's so hard when you do baseball, especially 162 games every single year. There are definitely those moments that stand out, though. And I think for me, it was getting to be with the team and cover my first playoffs, which happened in 2018. The Rockies went to the playoffs in 2017 in a wild card game, but I was very pregnant and about to have a baby. So I did not travel with them then. In 2018, I got the chance to go with them, and they started in Chicago in a wild card game that everyone thought the Cubs were going to win. It went to extra innings. It was the unlikely heroes story for the Rockies, and who was on the mound and who was at the plate. And getting to be in the clubhouse for a champagne celebration and watch those people that a lot of them I had been covering their entire careers since the very beginning. And to watch them get to celebrate in that moment, know the hard work it took to get there for them. That was pretty cool. And then, they ventured on to Milwaukee, and it was just this week of just playoffs and chaos and all the things you can imagine, but getting to be in the middle of it was a ton of fun for me. And you mentioned Nolan Arenado. I really think about his career, and I tried to think about it a lot when he was with the Rockies, of really admiring the craft, because when he started winning gold gloves year after year and then platinum gloves year after year, you knew he was the best defender in the league. But sometimes it's hard to sit there and stop and smell the roses and appreciate what's right in front of you and the player you get to cover. And I think he'll be a player that I definitely tell my grandkids about, that I got to watch him play in person every single day for 8 years. And early in Nolan's career, he and his family let me come out to California and do a big story at their house and interview a lot of people that were meaningful in his life, family members, coaches, things like that. And so I think it was just a really, you get attached to players in that regard, where you get to know their families, and you're just so excited for them and watching them. And, I still watch Nolan all the time. If a Cardinals game's on, I'm waiting for him to come up to bat, because you never know what you're going to see with Nolan. And I think he is definitely a generational player that I enjoyed watching.
Those are definitely some pretty special moments, and he was surely a special player for the Rockies and very missed on the team already. I wanted to ask you my last question, Jenny. For younger sportscasters and sports writers just getting into the industry, what advice do you have?
Yeah, I always think about the P's, I call them. You have to have a passion, right? In our business, you really have to love what you do. we're not curing cancer. We're not solving all the world's problems. It's not challenging in that way, but it's challenging by the amount of hours that you put into it and invest into it. And that's just not your day-to-day work. That's your desire and your goals and your dreams and your pursuit of all of those. So I would say you definitely have to have that seed early on of really wanting to do this. And then I kind of just mentioned the word pursuit. Like, you have to be willing to do anything. I talk to a lot of young broadcasters that are like, well, I would never leave Colorado. And I'm like, well, you probably shouldn't be in this business then, you know? Everyone's path is totally different. And sometimes you can end up in your hometown. I feel very fortunate that I did that. But I went to a lot of stops before that. You know, I saw Flint, Michigan. I went to Santa Barbara, California, not a terrible destination. I went to San Diego, also not a terrible destination. But, you know, you really have to be willing to let your dreams take you anywhere they might take you. And that included, you know, I didn't know how a family was going to fit into my career. And I feel really lucky that I have a fantastic partner, my husband, and, you know, now we have 2 small children. And there's days still, I don't know how this is all going to work. But when you're passionate enough about something, you just kind of make it work. And then I would also say, at the end of the day, just be true to yourself. It's really, really important. I think it's good to admire other sportscasters or other sports writers, even sample from them in a way. But at the end of the day, you're the only person that's you, and that's what you're going to bring to the table. And I think in this business that can be so competitive, a lot of times people can get lost with who they really are. And so if you can just stay grounded and remember, you know, that person inside and that passion that you have, that'll take you a long way.
I love that advice. I think it's something we could all use a little bit more, and especially what you said too about the curing cancer part. I think that's great, little wake up call for some of us. But Jenny, thank you so
Right.
much for your time. The Colorado 2021 Sportscaster of the Year. Hopefully, we'll see you this summer in Winston-Salem.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jake.